Hello and welcome to Hey, I Loved That Movie, the podcast where we rewatch the films we loved when we were younger to see if they still hold up. I'm Dan.
I'm Michael.
I'm Helena.
And for this spooky episode, we have a special guest. It's Mack.
Hello, I'm Mack, and we're talking about Final Destination.
So, Mack, what's your kind of... what's your memories of Final Destination?
The very few memories I have of Final Destination are, to steal a phrase from another podcast that you're all fans and friends of, I am very much a scaredy boy, and Final Destination is not scary in the slightest. So I was able to watch it without feeling any kind of fear as a child. I think because of the fact there's no, jump scary, bad guy, it just is sort of, incidental things happen. I was like, well, there's nothing I can do about that, so it didn't really scare me, if you know what I mean. It wasn't like someone I had to evade or run away from. I don't really have an awful lot of, very strong memories of it. I just remember watching it about 20 times over a 3-year period because it was the only horror film I'd let my friends watch when they wanted to watch a scary movie.
Oh, wow. That's the worst.
Yeah. I just couldn't face watching anything. I remember watching The Ring at a party once, and halfway through just being like, I gotta go to the toilet, and I literally just went and sat and put my head in my hands for about 20 minutes, and then came back.
Oh,
I have a much worse story about The Ring.
Please continue.
So, off track already, but I was doing a Halloween party, and everyone was watching The Ring, and this guy was, drinking way too much and doing that thing where you're pretending that you're too drunk and falling down the stairs. Anyway, so he just walks into the back room and starts pissing in the back corner. And he's like,
Oh.
The movie told me to... we kicked him out and made him clean it up. But that's...
You kicked him out first and then made him clean it up.
No, we made him clean it up and then
Do
we
it
kicked
from
him out.
outside.
But...
They kicked him
Clean
out
it.
and gave him a series of apparatus. Those litter
Open the
picking
window.
claws. Yeah.
a very
Clean that up.
long mop.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I expected it to be a scarier story. He pretended to be drunk and then he climbed out of a TV.
No.
Oh, yeah, no, I forget
Yeah.
when you're drunk gives you magical powers.
He went upstairs and just broke a TV and came in and was like, watch this, everyone. Climbed through. I was like, get out.
He climbed into the back of one of those CRT TVs and got
Yeah.
stuck.
So I do have
Still
a
there
very,
to this day.
a very big weird thing that is a lack of memory from this film. I don't know how I missed it. I was obsessed with Eminem as a kid, and I did not realize the guy from Final Destination was Stan from the song Stan.
Oh,
It's
right.
literally the same guy, and I
What?
was like, how did I never know this?
The guy from
I didn't.
by the way, the guy from Stan is Eminem. I don't know if you...
No. In the video for Stan by Eminem, it is what do you call him, Devon Sawa or Devon Sawa, whatever it's called. And it blew my mind. I was like, I watched that video constantly, and I watched this film constantly, and I never put them together once.
I knew he looked familiar. But yeah, thank you, because that had been sort of bugging me. Not bugging me enough to actually look it up, but
Yeah.
that was, yeah.
Not
There's a
worth
bit in
Google.
this where he's just in a random cabin, and I'm pretty sure it's the house from Stan. And I was like,
Same
is
cabin.
this Stan the movie? And we've never realized.
They just filmed it at the same time.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Same time. Same time.
I mean, I think Stan is probably a better story.
Yeah, I agree. There's certainly more
Amazing
plot to the
as well.
song Stan than there is to this film.
I saw
Yeah.
this. I saw this a couple of times, but it's one of those ones where I'm familiar with the franchise, but not the individual movies.
Mhm.
So, everything that I thought I enjoyed about Final Destination was inevitably not in this film.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's got
I've
big,
definitely seen number 3 the most.
it's got big
Um,
Men in Black syndrome, where everything you think has
Yeah.
happened is in the sequel.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the deaths were... I mean, some of the deaths were pretty funny. But I think it was still towing the line of trying to be a little bit creepy and not be full,
Yeah.
wacky
Yeah.
black comedy that the third one is. With
The
the, fried teenage girls in the
Oh,
sunbeds.
yeah. That's
Did they
awful.
give up then? Did they give up on it being serious? Did they pull a child's play and go, you know what, it's not scary?
I think so.
Because that's what they
I
did.
think
Yeah.
I remember that isn't there one either in the second or third, but I know for sure right now, not in the first. Someone's you there's a crane carrying a massive panel of glass.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
it
and they're
just
in the
splats
dentist
them
and- yeah.
on
Yeah.
the ground.
Yeah, the second one
Yeah.
has a lot of comedic misdirection where they build up a lot of things where it's like this person's going to get killed in the dentist by choking on something or getting suffocated
Yeah,
by
because
gas.
like doesn't
and
a
then they just
bird fly into the
and
into
then
the window?
and then they just walk outside and get crushed. It's
Yeah.
like they build up like a 10-minute scene of like, oh, they've put the wrong gas on, and he's passing out, and this plastic fish has fallen in his mouth, and he's choking. And the nurse comes in, and he's just like, oh, you're fine, and walks outside, plane of gas just brains him.
Yeah, I think my memories of this was at a point probably about 11, maybe 12 years ago, where I was trying to be a brave boy and watch horror movies, and I think I watched all the Final Destination movies just in a row.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely all melded into each other. I remembered maybe 2 things about this.
Yeah.
So yeah, didn't remember too much. Completely forgot that Stifler is in this.
Yeah, that's mental to me. It's mad.
Yes.
I watched it back.
Yes.
How is Sean William Scott this, and he does nothing? Like, he's barely in
Like
it.
90% of things he's in.
Yeah, well, but I mean, like, he certainly, to me now, is the most notable name in it, apart from maybe, what do you call her?
The guy from
Clear
Stan.
Rivers. Well, yeah, Stan.
Oh,
obviously.
Ali Larter, who was
Yeah.
she was in Heroes, and that's the only thing I know her from.
Yeah.
Wait, I do not remember this film. So I meant from like watching it a week ago. I never watched it when I was a kid because although I am a brave boy now, I'm not a brave boy. I'm a desensitized boy.
Yeah.
Because ruined horror films for me by watching them at 2 a.m. I used to be like a real scared boy. Then again, I saw bits of Saw when I was real young, and my brain went. Someone described Final Destination to me, and I was like, "That sounds like what I saw of Saw." I assumed it was like hyper-violent body horror.
Giving Final Destination way too much credit there.
So I just
Yeah.
like, never watched it. Because I was like, I don't
Alright.
like body horror. Even when I was like, I like horror, I don't like body horror.
Yeah.
So I assumed it was a
I
lot more violent. It's very funny. It's very
It's-
funny.
I remember not wanting to watch them not because of the horror bits, but because of the premonition bits. Like, the car crash in the second one terrified me more than anything else in the movie. Like, the idea of...
Yeah.
I
Just
thought
a
the
horrific-
plane crash is actually really horrific, and the
Yeah.
immediate aftermath of them like all being gathered out like round and like basically waiting for their
Yeah.
parents to come pick them up. It is actually really quite. It's quite hard hitting. And that's what sets it. I think it's because of that the rest of it is so goofy. Is that
Yeah.
it's like it's like trying to put on its big boy pants and then not putting actual trousers on or something, and then it's like okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they're all gathered talking about it, like, and just sort of all freaking out, and then the plane actually explodes in the background, and then it takes a second for the shockwave to hit, and it's like, yeah, that is quite a serious bit. Also, you can tell that this is a pre 9/11 movie, because
Yes,
otherwise the rest of the
100%.
film would have been
Them
you put
in
a bomb
prison.
on the plane, didn't
It'd be
you?
them in prison.
Yeah.
Also, they were like just let off the plane and let just loose into straight off the plane, loose into the airport. Not like checked because they were going like angry and like
I
guy
thought they
was
were still in departures.
the dude was screaming that the plane was going to explode. Like they wouldn't just go, well, we'll let you go.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you actually remember how the film goes, he basically has what looks like a panic attack, and then the other guy picks a fight with him.
Yeah.
And then they're sent off. I guess the idea is that they're then going to wait and get the next. They're going to calm down and get the next plane.
Yeah, but he's screaming the plane is going to explode.
I
Which
think
is
people
like,
probably scream and freak out on planes a little bit more often than people realise.
but like that, you'd at least get like looked at, and there'd be someone watching
They
you.
probably have a doctor, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
check your heart rate or
Yeah,
something.
you wouldn't
just
just
make
be
sure
like,
you're not going to
"Oh."
have an actual cardiac event.
Sit down, calm.
Especially when the plane then does explode.
Yeah, you would not be
Like-
allowed to leave that place.
Well,
No.
they get interviewed. They do get interviewed immediately by the FBI and the transport police, don't they?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just to point out, one of the FBI agents is called Agent Shrek. So that's
Yes.
that's
Oh my
important.
God,
Important
like-
to point out.
That is important. That is important. Thank God I didn't note that down.
Was that one of your 2 notes, Mac?
No, I just remembered because when I watched this, every time the other guy that wasn't Agent Shrek, his name I don't remember, spoke, the person I watched it with paused the film and repeated the line like Eddie Murphy, as if it was Donkey. There's not much plot to go through.
No, there really
problem.
isn't.
So
No.
this Stan from
Stan.
the
Just
Eminem
call him
video
Stan. Let's just call him Stan.
has a premonition.
Yeah.
Well, he gets on the plane. He's going to Paris with his high school for like a trip.
Doesn't his dad before this? Isn't there like there's like a weird scene where they're trying to like create his like home life, and I swear his parents are like, if you're gonna have sex, I swear that happens. Or am I misremembering?
I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
there's
It's hard to
some
remember
weird
anything.
sort of family stuff right at the
Yeah.
start where they're
Yeah.
like, oh, behave and do this, and
Like
have a great trip, and we love you very much.
Don't be blowing up any planes with your mind powers.
no,
Try
don't be having
not to
those
have any premonitions,
dreams
son.
again.
Yeah. Or at least have them before you get on the plane. You could save a lot of people.
Other than that, like, he's just looking forward to the trip, I think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
doesn't he then have a pretty rough night's sleep?
Yeah, which
Probably.
this is
seems
one
to
of the
have a
notes
lot
I
of-
wrote down. The bit where he's asleep at the airport. Apparently they planned the day so badly that the airport wouldn't let them film for ages. So that was genuinely him asleep because they hadn't done anything for like 4 hours. So
Wow.
Devon Sawa was fully just asleep while they were waiting for that scene to come out.
It's a kind of method acting.
It
Did
is
they-
true, yeah.
Tell him.
I think it was just more like they're like, well, he has to act like he's asleep in 10 minutes, so may as well just let him sleep and we'll just film him for a bit.
When you,
So, do you want a creepy story as it's a spooky episode?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
So, I had a boyfriend when I was, I want to say 14. I'm not gonna name and shame him because fucking weird. And you'll find out why. It was his birthday.
Did he have a premonition about a plane exploding?
Not quite. It was his birthday party, which was weird in itself because like his mum threw it, and it was like a really like family event. Like she got the like young boy birthday party themed matching paper plates and cups kind of
Oh,
thing,
no.
and like
Oh,
decorated and very strange for like considering we were teenagers. Anyway, I wasn't sleeping very well at the time, so I'd come over to before the party had started, and I was just upstairs having a nap, and he came in and took photos of me asleep.
Ooh,
Which obviously is a bit weird,
very weird.
but whatever. No, what was weird is I came downstairs, not realizing the party had started, and sort of hurried downstairs into the living room, where sleeping me was on the TV, and he'd plugged the camera in, and all his relatives were looking at pictures of me sleeping.
Hmm.
What? Were you cursed?
I'm surprised you're still alive right now.
Yeah. Whenever you left, they burnt those photos and did a dance around the living room.
How did
Yeah,
the rest of
I,
that party go? What do you do? What do you do after that? What do you do?
Yeah, no, I think I just kind of was like that. Yeah, I've honestly kind of blanked out the rest of the party. I've no idea what happened the rest of that evening.
That's because they knocked you out. Yeah. You were out cold on purpose. It was all part of the plan.
Well, I don't have a soul.
How do you even go about explaining that? You're like the person doing it. How do you go, well, I just thought it was a good idea. Like, what? How do you explain that to someone?
I'm not
And I
sure
just-
what's
I mean, I was
worse,
only-
that or if you'd have woken up and they were all standing around looking at you.
No, standing around looking at it worse. That's
That's
far
worse.
That's like
Definitely.
that.
This
that's-
is my new girlfriend.
But this feels like that
So-
felt like the first step towards that happening.
Yeah, that sounds like they were gonna go. She's still sleeping, and they'd have all come and had a look. Like that's what that. That's weird.
So anyway, yeah, ended up not being the guy for me, and
What?
yeah, I think it probably played a part in it.
Yeah, I'm glad that's
I
not the
hope
wedding
so.
we attended.
I hope so. I hope that played a part in it, and you didn't just shrug it off like, yeah, that's fine.
I was 14. I was bad at setting boundaries.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone is when they're 14, to be fair.
It's like, is this normal?
Yeah.
I'll go along with it and probably question it for the next 12 years.
You're kind of in that awkward bit between being a child and an adult where you're like, I'm grown up enough to know what's going on, but then you get into a weird situation, you're like, this is...
No,
Is this
As
what
a-
adults do?
as an adult, I still wouldn't know what to do in that situation.
No.
Like that's not a situation anyone interacts with.
The thing is, if that happened to me now as an adult, I'd find a way to make it into a bit. I'd be like, pretty weird. Anyway, just carry on.
Yeah.
I went to a wedding literally nearly exactly a year ago to this day that I'm still certain was a sort of cult ceremony. And I think about it on a daily basis. And it terrifies me to think about it and what could have happened to me at that. And now that I've started the story, I realise that there's a good chance one of the people will listen to it. So I'm not going to continue on.
We can cut this out.
Yeah, I'll tell everyone after. Anyway, yeah, this is a bad film, eh?
Yeah, bad
Yeah,
film.
bad film, awful film. Let's stop talking about married
it's
people.
definitely more fun talking about other things.
Yeah.
Alright, there's a lot of
So,
weird stuff in the
there's a
movie
lot-
though.
He
Like,
has a premonition about the plane crashing, and the plane crashes. But
Yeah.
it's not a premonition where he's like, oh, it's all wibbly wobbly. It's like he literally,
He sees what's
we
happening.
think the plane has crashed with him on it, and then
Yeah.
he jerks awake, and then all the things he dreams, or all the things he dreamt, happen.
Yeah.
Like he knows that the tray table is loose, and he knows what someone's about to say, and all of that kind of stuff. So he sort of knows it's happened,
yeah.
Yeah.
and that's why he freaks out. But he's also he's played as this kind of he's not popular. He's not like super unpopular.
He's an in-betweener.
He's an yeah.
Let's never mention that.
No, but that's the term, right?
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah.
He's a normal kid.
Yeah, he's just he's normal. He's got like a best friend.
He's a normal 25-year-old looking.
Yeah. He's got his wife and his kid in the back of in the trunk. He's gonna drive off the cliff.
Yeah.
God, and then like everyone, like basically they work out that death is gonna still kill them anyway.
Death's gonna come and get them. Death, the weird shadow creature.
The first death is genuinely quite upsetting. Like obviously after the
Is
plane.
it?
I mean
I thought it was hilarious.
the first death is the plane crash, really. But I mean the first death after that,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, like it's acted terribly, and it's like very silly comedy of him just slipping around in the bath. But I'm like, the idea of just hanging yourself in the bath is horrible. Like I was like, that so easily could happen by just being an idiot. It really upset me.
Is the events of the death works by clumsiness.
Yeah, death works by there's a slow leak from the toilet that comes towards you, and then when you die, it goes back.
Yeah, that was really weird. Like that didn't feel necessary. Like why would death hide? It's like this weird idea that death was like hiding itself.
Discover the evidence.
I can't let them find out I'm interfering.
It's death, but it needs to look like a suicide.
Oh, I shouldn't have.
Every one of these deaths is an OK Go music video. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's like a series of unnecessarily unrelated things that make something quite impressive at the end.
It's dark. Okay, go.
Yeah. It's just OK Go have decided to kill everyone through a series of funny music videos for a very mid-level pop song at the end.
Honestly, that's a better premise for the film.
I'd love that.
That would actually like a pretty good horror film. If there was a murderer going around doing that.
I know it doesn't exist anymore, but quick pointless reinvention. Obviously, a better version of this is every death caused by a horse. I think that's the best possible way. I have said this for ages.
Yeah, but it's kind of, it is just, every death is kind of mostly caused by farts.
Yeah.
Well,
I think every death being caused by one horse is much funnier.
As in, like, they're all caused by the same horse or by different
No,
horses?
I think just literally occasionally they just are like, in a hospital, lift doors open, there's a horse.
The person that gets hit by...
The bus,
just hit by a bus.
There's a horse
driving it.
All right, yeah, that's funny.
No, it's just a horse and carriage. Yeah.
No, it's funny actually.
Why is that not what I went to? I went to a horse driving a bus.
No, that's why I was confused. That's funnier though. If you're like,
we
thought everyone got killed by a horse, then it zooms into the bus and you see the horse with a little hat on.
Or just the bus drives away and it's got a little tail.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, when bus drivers like wave to each other, but it just is a little like
a little nod. It does one of those big head nods that horses do.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first death is it's horrendous when it's happening.
So it's sad because
the build up is fun.
The guy that is his best friend.
Yeah.
His brother was also on the trip, and his brother doesn't leave the plane and dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've already lost one.
Sad
kid.
is an overstatement.
Yeah.
And then the other one hangs himself, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at first he tries to shave and he has, like, no beard whatsoever. Like, there's not even an ounce of facial hair there. And he manages
at that point,
cut
aren't you?
himself. Yeah.
It's like training bras. Like, you don't need one, but you're going to wear it.
Yeah. And then the water creeps up behind him. He goes back to step on it, and he doesn't, so the water moves some more to get in his way.
And they've got, I mean, this is one of the reasons he deserves to die, is that they're drying their clothes along a, like, washing line in the bath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who does, like,
I don't think
that is worthy of death, I agree.
The punishment for that is death.
Yeah.
But why would you want hanging implements in a slippery room? Like, it's the only room in my house that I would consider, like, genuinely...
It's the most humid room. It's the hardest room to dry anything in. It's madness.
I know that you can get... I've seen those like, Japanese bathrooms where they've got, like, a clothes drying function.
Yeah.
But
that's what you want.
He didn't seem
look
like
like he
that.
had.
Yeah, didn't seem like he was the kind of guy who would have that.
Not in like early 2000s America, no, probably not.
But it is quite comical the way obviously he slips and the whole thing just wraps around his neck super quickly as if someone is just tying it.
Yeah, that's death.
Yeah. Then he's just like slipping on the like shower gel in the bath as well, so he can't get up at all.
The first kill in this film feels like Death's first kill ever.
Yeah.
Because the rest of them are really like clean in terms of like Death's ability. They're really clean. The first one feels like he's trying to work out what he's doing.
Yeah.
Which is weird because the fifth one ends up being a prequel to this, so...
Yeah. But
which was the only good thing about the last one. That, well, even that wasn't great.
I'm not going to pretend to have remembered.
No, so essentially right at the end of the Final Destination, the characters that survive happen to be getting onto the plane from this movie. Ooh.
Oh yeah, no.
Scary.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
I'm not gonna lie, there was at least something happened.
Yeah.
I was like, I remember watching Final Destination and be like, oh, this is dull at the end. I was like, oh. But then I was like, but no, it's just gonna go in a circle of more of the same films that I don't want to watch.
I thought they all died at the end of the Final Destination. I might be thinking of Final Destination. Is it Final Destination 4?
They do die at the end of the Final Destination because the plane blows up because it's the plane from the first one. That's exactly
Also, death isn't good if there's always survivors.
How many Final Destination films are there?
They're making another
Five.
They're making
Five.
Yeah, I'm getting the. I don't think I've seen the Final Destination.
So the first one is this. It's the plane crash. The second one's the car crash. The third one's the roller coaster where someone gets killed with a nail gun.
Awful.
The fourth one is NASCAR.
Yeah.
Yes.
The NASCAR
and I think
one.
the fifth one's a bridge.
Yeah, the NASCAR one's mental. Like the NASCAR one is like genuinely.
Why didn't we watch that one?
Oh, we still can. There's 4 more to go. Do you know what I would suggest if you watch any more of them, you just do them one big episode because there's about as much plot over the 5 of them that you could crack into one episode.
I swear they're making another one, like coming out next year.
Almost certainly, yeah.
Probably, yeah, because
we're in the kind of series.
We're in the era of like the kind of like legacy sequels and stuff to horror movies, so
I hope
it wouldn't surprise me.
And make it horror. I hope they don't try and make it like really scary, and they just keep it shit and campy.
I've just realised Final Destination is just a porno, really, right? It's just very tenuous. Like there's a kind of a storyline leading up to the one thing that everyone's there for, and then it just does that over and over again, and then there's not really actually plot after that.
No, that's true.
That is quite a good description.
It's like, me and my teacher have got on this plane to Paris, and then there's death. And then they go home, and there's death again.
That reminds me. One of my notes on this is there's a point where he's researching, like, to see what happened, and one of my notes is just nothing to calm you down like a good wank, because he just like, and then Todd dies, so that's karma for masturbating. Don't masturbate; it's bad for you.
Yeah, they go blind and die.
Death will kill you in an elaborate way.
Yeah.
So there's the creepy mortician.
Yeah, I was going to say
Tony Todd,
best
guy in the film.
He knows about death, right?
Yeah,
but that's all we know about him. Is like he's just like death is a thing, a force of nature, and it will kill you in the order you died on the plane.
Yeah, he doesn't really fully explain it, and then the second film they go and find him again, and as he's talking to them. There's a corpse on the table and he just rips one of the nipple rings out of it as he's talking to them. And I was like, fucking hell. That is the most upsetting thing in any of these films.
Yeah, I've got upset just hearing about that. I don't want to watch these other films now, actually. He's super creepy, though. I'd totally forgotten that he was even in the film. Like every other aspect of the plot. But he is... part of me was like, okay, so does he actually know? Or is he just... fed up of kids breaking in and fucking shit up in his mortuary in his funeral home.
That makes him ripping the nipple ring off even funnier. Yeah. Because
like
that is just him doing
he just is like like at one, he's not worked out how far he has to go to actually put the kids off.
Yeah, he just got carried
At the
away.
moment, he's still sort of drawing them in because it's such a great story. But then he ripped off a nipple ring. And they're like, oh,
Yeah,
no, I'm not
it's
going.
got
I'm not going.
A little notebook of ways to stop kids getting in. It's just like
He does a different one every time and then
Yeah.
crosses it out when it doesn't work.
Yeah. It's like that kid looked like Stan came in earlier and I ripped the nipple ring out and he hasn't come back.
He just circles that one a bunch of times. He gets loads of complaints because for some reason all the bodies he starts processing now have nipple rings, nipple piercings.
No, they're all missing.
Or
All the ones
missing.
that did have nipple rings are gone.
They're all
Oh.
missing a nipple.
Every single family picks up boys like, I'm sure they had piercings, and he's like, nah, none of them. Not a single person here's ever had a piercing.
Pretty
I
sure
see
they have
Jingles
nipple-
walking out of the room.
I'm very pro like being an organ donor if something happens to me. Like that feels fine. That doesn't like carving me up and giving up it to me doesn't feel like wrong at all. But
Doing it
ripping
to
off a
scare
nipple
kids.
ring,
Doing it to
like
scare
that feels
teenagers.
really violating.
Yeah.
I think it's because, I mean, unless you're going to give it to someone else, then, you know.
Yeah, science
Yeah.
doesn't want your nipple rings.
No.
Science doesn't need that. So the only interesting part about this film, let's discuss all of them because the
Creepy
first
doll.
one is
There's a creepy doll. She deserves to die. She has a creepy doll.
Okay. All of the deaths. Let's go through the deaths because that's what this
Cool.
film is about. So we
The
have
next death is the only one I remembered from this one, which is Sudden Bus.
Oh yeah, no, I love
I
Mean
forgot
Girls.
about the
I love
bus.
Yeah.
I love
So
the
good.
Mean
Yeah.
Girls moment.
So basically, one of the guys that survives is a jock kind of character. He's quite aggro.
Yeah.
He's not handling his emotions very well, and he's definitely in the anger stage of grief for like ever.
Yeah. I mean his
And
school
he tries to basically run over. Well, he pulls up to like run over Stan.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, because they're all asking him.
Yeah, Stifler's there on a bike, and he's like, I'm going to fucking run him over.
It's because they're all asking. They believe Stan has the ability to see the future, so they keep asking him shit.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah,
like,
they
"I
think that he
can't."
can predict the deaths because he had a hunt. He had this omen that Todd was going to die because a bit of paper blew into his hand that said Todd,
Yeah.
and the lights flickered.
Because death loves drama.
Yeah. I like, yeah. It's very
Death
funny
loves
for.
leaving hints.
Yeah, it's very funny for Death to be like, that's it. I'm going to kill all you people who've evaded me, but I am also going to leave a series of clues.
Death is a flamboyant creature. Death
Yeah.
is. Oh, I now want a death where they are just like this really flamboyant, dramatic
Yeah.
being.
Big
It'd be
big
great.
feather boa.
Yeah. Oh, incredible.
The bus death is genuinely like so funny because
I
it's
think
it's
so
'cause it's-
quick. And
It's the
so
only
fast.
technical jump scare in the movie as well.
Yeah, but the thing is like I obviously understand that it is very fast, right? But in that situation, everyone would have seen the bus, right?
Yes.
Like everyone could have seen the bus,
The
and
bus-
only we get jump scared by it. Like the audience, and I'm like, it's madness that no one's like,
The
get
bus
off the road. There's a bus coming, like 40
cruising
seconds from
down,
here now.
yeah.
Get off the. It's now 10. Get off.
Yeah, it's not like she turns and steps into the road and immediately gets hit. She's standing in the road for a while before she gets full on
Yeah.
A-trained. Like,
It is madness.
Also, the bus driver would have seen her.
yeah.
In the bus driver stuff.
I
Yeah, the bus driver really doesn't give a shit.
The
at all.
bus
It's
driver's
because the bus
got-
was being driven by death.
Oh,
bus
not a
driver-
It's a horse. Yeah, the bus driver.
Yeah.
The horse doesn't care for the woman in the street.
They've got look, they're behind on their route and they've got to catch up.
Destination. Sorry. Continue.
So the girl is really irritating, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah. She
Yeah.
deserves to be bossed.
Yeah.
She fully deserves it. All these
No,
people
no,
deserve
not
it.
not bus girl. The
Oh, Claire Rivers.
fringe- Claire Rivers. Yeah.
No,
she's-
Claire. Her name is Claire Rivers.
Claire,
the worst
yeah.
name in film history.
I-
Claire
I-
Rivers.
I was
Claire
Fuck, that's-
Rivers.
Bullshit. No one
I-
has ever been called Claire Rivers.
No, I was looking up the background because the film is boring. I was like, I'm just gonna look up background stuff, and I kept reading the name Claire, and I was like, I can't believe this Wikipedia page has that much of a typo on it, and it's so consistent. No, the character's called Claire Rivers.
Yeah.
CLEAR for
Yeah,
anyone
Claire.
who
Yeah.
still hasn't quite worked it out. But it's that bad.
On a side note, do you know who was meant to play Stan and Claire Rivers in this before Stan
Was it
and
one person?
Yeah,
Was
no,
it a
it's-
single?
no, but it is like a 2000s movie couple.
Ooh,
It was meant
wait.
to be Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst,
That
which
would
I
be
think somehow
incredible.
would have made it more boring.
Yeah, it wasn't going to be like.
Would
I
this
think
be
she's a more Kirsten Dunst has
Yeah.
a more likable face.
Dunst is definitely much better, but Tobey Maguire is maybe one of the most boring men ever lived.
He's
this
pretty
before or-
equally bland. I don't think he'd have brought
Yeah,
much
to be
to the table.
yeah,
To be fair, the character's very bland.
yeah.
I'm more thinking of the incredibly fucked up Spider-Man movie that would have led to.
Yeah.
Where Stan from Eminem is Spider-Man.
Bleach blonde hair, wife
Yep.
beater on.
And he's just running through a forest getting hit in the face with twigs.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's Wolverine.
So we have.
it's all the same shit.
It is,
So the
it
next
really
death.
is. Yeah.
The next death is the most ridiculously built up one because it's the one where inevitably the house explodes, but there's like an entire Rube Goldberg machine of random shit that happens to get there.
Yeah,
Yep. Death doing his OK Go music.
So
video.
at this
Yeah.
point, the CIA and the FBI are like, dude, we know you're involved somehow.
Yeah, you were screaming
Just
the
now,
plane
they,
was
like-
going
they,
to
like, bring
explode
him
and then
in.
it exploded.
And then he's worked
Wow.
that the teacher is the next on the list.
hmm
So he goes to her house and starts checking out her car. I think he's looking for like obvious ways. He's like, well, yeah, maybe Death's next move is to cut the brakes and like
Yeah.
maybe slash a tire.
yeah.
Yeah, he ends up getting arrested because they're like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Well, she sees him and she's already like, this boy is fucking creepy.
Yeah,
I really don't like. He gives me weird vibes. I hate him. And then he's outside her house. Like, fair play. She calls the FBI. He
Yeah.
gave her his number. Like, yeah, I would too.
So then, because I've made notes of all the ridiculous stuff that happens in a row, so she's about to make a cup of tea and changes her mind and empties the hot mug and pours vodka in it, which is cold. So the mug cracks, which means that vodka trails along the floor. There's like a knife on the door or something, because like in the background there's like a picture of a knife on
Yeah.
the stained glass window. It's like, she's gonna get stabbed by the knife, and then something sets on fire in the kitchen and it travels along the vodka that was in the mug, and then she's like fallen down and she's trying to grab something and all the knives fall on her, and then Stan from Eminem comes in and pulls out one of the knives and he's standing there like,
Yeah.
now I look like a murderer.
Yeah, it's bad.
And then the house explodes.
Basically, I think the reason it caught fire was because she'd left the kettle on, like on the stove. Still.
Yeah, or she was like cooking something as well.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
But,
I've more recently than this watched the first episode of Man vs. Bee, where he accidentally sets fire to a book, and that's what's happening in my head now.
this kill feels like Death was just kind of hedging his bets on what would work.
Yeah. Like, stab them, stab them, light those fire. Fuck, just blow it up.
he learned from the first one. The
Yeah.
first Death, it was like he didn't stand on the water, and the water was his entire plan. So
Yeah.
this one, he's like, what if I do the fire, the knives, and like 2 other things just in case? Because I
Yeah.
swear, like the window.
if she didn't die at that
broke.
point, then like the cat was gonna swing in, and like
Yeah.
he had she's allergic to peanuts. He had like a jar of peanut butter, just blow across her face.
What you didn't say, while the house was on fire, there was a horse galloping towards it.
And the horse is electrified.
Yeah, the horse is also on fire.
He just parked the bus outside.
It's on fire because it's running fast enough so it can
Yeah.
drive a train.
Yeah, no, it's, the horse is running from the back. The bus is driving from the front. There's a plane coming immediately down from the sky. That house was going no matter what.
Yeah. She was.
Death's like, fuck it, I'll crash another plane if I have to.
Yeah,
It does feel like so much effort for Death to kill these people.
yeah.
Because like everyone else is just dying.
Well,
as in,
let
it
on to
feels
him.
like Death is. He's like, damn, my surprise.
Yeah.
Element of surprise is gone. He's putting in so much effort to try and kill these like 4 people.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
even
does
like
he not
a
have
lot
something
of
better
people.
to do?
It's not like lots of people that need to die. Like,
Yeah.
No, it is like 6 altogether. No, 7. Because at this point it's 4 because they all get into the jock guy's car and he's like, we're all going to die anyway. I'm just going to speed off.
Yeah,
And then
he gets really
Fair.
upset.
Gets trapped on a train track, and then he can't get out of the car.
Yeah.
But then he gets out of the car and he's avoided death. And then the train destroys the car, and then as it's going along, it hits a bit of metal, which just straight up decapitates Stifler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't it not kill him because death has to kill them in the right order?
Yes.
Yeah, but if all attempts fail, then it jumps.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Back. It jumps over to the next person. I guess because maybe he's like planned all of them, and he's like, well, I'm not gonna not kill this person just because I've not killed you.
Yeah, he took his opportunity with Stifler. He was like, I've got it. There's no more elaborate plan.
He's there, this random bit of sharp metal is perfectly in space to decapitate this guy.
The train scene is quite, like, upsetting, because, like, this guy has kind of got a point. Like, he is gonna die, and it is really terrifying, especially when you're a teenager and your mortality is, like, just not a concept that you think about
We'd
or
all
in
be
any
okay
way
with
prepared
it now.
for.
Right now, we'd all be like, yeah, this is fine.
And I was like, oh, I guess this makes sense.
Yeah.
If all four of us were in the car that was happening, I'm like, can I get out? Like, I'm all right to get out if that's all right.
You open it up, immediately get run over by a horse.
I was gonna say, but then the problem is I'm the decapitated one, right?
Yeah.
You all get car death, and my top of my head's missing.
Creepy Stan has another sort of premonition, or like another omen, where he knows that he thinks that his seatbelt is torn open.
Yeah.
And it isn't. So then he knows that he can pull him through. He knows that he can break the seatbelt to pull the guy out of the window, so he doesn't die that time.
Yeah.
It is weird. And then I'm just like, it's been a couple of weeks since we watched this. I'm reading through my notes and just remembered that soon we get to a bit where a tree tries to drown him.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
So
the FBI are basically at this point like, fucking hell, the house has exploded. He's clearly done it.
Yeah.
They don't even know that Stifler's been decapitated. They go, and then creepy girl is like, "Oh, why don't we go to my dad's cabin?"
Yeah, and then they just like baby-proof the whole cabin.
They baby-proof's like one room, not the whole cabin.
Yeah. And then like he opens up like a cabinet door, tries to like open, and he like manages to slam it shut, and it's full of knives behind it, right?
Yeah, there's one that goes through the door or something.
Yeah.
It's very funny to imagine that situation, right? Where Stan's in that house just constantly very barely escaping death for like weeks. He's like sitting perfectly still in the middle of a room, just sees like the clock start to tip forward, he just runs up, pushes it back on the wall. He's like, fuck. It's like a skateboard rolls in with like a tin of beans on it, and he just screams and like kicks it over or something.
This is Death's hubris and his flair for the dramatic, like coming to bite him in the arse, though, because come on, aneurysm?
Yeah,
just genital heart defect?
Yeah, there's plenty of ways to get him. It's
Choking?
the flair. Although, after a while of doing that, of being like scared of every time it was happening, you'd get casual about it. You'd be like, the drawer full of knives would be trying to open, and you'd just be gently holding it shut whilst you're eating your cereal.
It's very funny to imagine just him very calmly moving his head side to side as the knives are just like launching out of it. Like he just has figured out the pattern at this point. He's like, yeah, great. Hello, morning. Him and Death just become...
goes out to get the paper and just ducks as like a tree collapses in front of him.
Him and Death just become like begrudging housemates.
Like,
look, I know, I understand that you're like the personification of death, but you will have to pay some rent. It's like, well, I can't be paid for everything here.
He finds turpentine in his milk.
I know you don't use a lot of power, but you have been trying to electrocute me, so you have to pay something.
You have been using quite a lot, and you keep breaking the cables. So.
And why are all the knives stacked in the cupboard again?
I know you can tidy things because you keep stacking the knives weird. Put them away.
It's very funny to be like, don't tell me you can't tidy anything. I can see the knives. Fucking bullshit me, Death.
I know you can turn the light switches off.
Yeah. Oh, you mean you can't wash the floor? You literally move water with you don't have to do anything. It just moves at your command. It's fucking clean it up.
The effect of like this shadow that's Death like floating around implies that thing does need to physically be in the room to do something. Like Death,
it's weird, isn't it? This weird
omnipresent.
sort of shimmer. I'm sure is it in the other films?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's very not scary and not very convincing as an effect.
No,
so I'm not surprised it didn't make it into the others, but it is. Yeah, it is definitely in this film a fair few times. Well, every time someone dies, it's like
Because it has to be there. But the implication that death isn't an omnipresent creature is very funny. That like every time someone dies, it has to be there to work out how and why.
Maybe it's their specific death. Maybe
Yeah.
and they've got the intern.
I was gonna say, do you think no one else in the whole world died for this 2-week period? It was like a real weird
He's
thing
real-
going on in the
There's
world.
a
Like,
weird
no one has
background.
died for weeks.
That might be why he's
How long
being...
do you think it would take for us to notice that no one had died for 2 weeks?
I think
Isn't
if
that the plot of Torchwood?
Yeah, there's that one Torchwood episode. Well, I say one.
Series.
The whole Torchwood series where that is the plot. Maybe that happens at the same time as Final Destination.
I think in real life, if one day went past where no one on Earth had died, everyone would be like, "No one's died." that is an odd thing to have happened.
But I don't
It'd
think
become a
people
new
would...
meme day.
I don't think people
Yeah.
would notice for like a year. People would be like, last February 8th, no one died. I don't
But
think people would
then
notice
8 teens
immediately.
who escaped a plane crash all died over the course of 2 weeks.
Do you reckon that's why Death was being a bit flary and a bit dramatic? Was because he was bored? Like
Yeah,
no
it's
one
like,
else.
normally
is
I'm
dying.
killing millions, cunt. I've got all my
I've got
energy on you.
time. I've got time on this one.
Yeah. I don't even
Oh.
like Stan.
So then it gets to the ridiculous power cable. Death somehow managing to fuck this up yet again.
Nearly kills a dog.
Yeah.
Very upset about that. I was very stressed out about the dog. I wasn't really paying attention, and then I was like, "There's a dog in trouble," and I was like,
So
"Oh,
she has
don't
her dog
Yeah.
chained up outside because she lives on her own because she's edgy,
Yeah.
and her mum and dad just totally doesn't care about her. And she does welding.
Mhm.
I think.
I don't think even the character knows.
I think
But-
she actually
yeah.
says I do welding or something at some point.
Yeah, doesn't she make art? She does
Yeah.
welding metal art sculptures that
Yeah.
all just
Yeah.
look like they got the props department to throw
My
together in
God.
approximately 2
If you-
minutes.
If you're in a creative writing class and they're like, describe your character, you're like, she's called Claire Rivers and she makes metal art, your teacher would be like, that's fucking grow up. cunt.
Yeah,
Like that is P1
Well,
stuff. Like, come on.
That's a YA bullshit.
Yeah.
oh, Claire Rivers, no, Clear.
No, Clear Rivers, like a
Yeah.
clear river.
Like
no, I heard you
clear
the first
water.
time, idiot.
Yeah,
She's not
like,
a bottled
'cause-
water brand.
Yeah, he like works out that she's next, and he's trying to get to her. And then like the washing line falls over and breaks the swimming pool, which
Oh,
causes some sort of
fucking-
electric cable to start going
Yeah.
mental. And then when
and there's
he's
like
trying
a
to
storm,
run,
a really
Yeah,
heavy
he's like-
storm.
he's running trying to get to her, and that's when he trips over and a tree lands on him, and he's drowning in like 2 millimeters of water.
I
I really
Like-
thought he died. I really thought he
Yeah.
died
Yeah.
at that point. I was kind of hoping he would.
I thought the electric cable thing was like the electric cable broke and tried to get her like on its own, and I think Death gave up and was like, "Well, if I cover you all in water, then I can get you easier."
Then I'll get you. Yeah,
Death's got bad aim, and then like the dog was stood in the water, and I was like, "Don't kill the dog." But this film doesn't have
No.
the guts to kill the dog.
It doesn't. Yeah,
luckily
the dog
is
doesn't die.
okay. They didn't have the budget for dog guts, so
The dog ran
it's
away.
fine.
Oh, they weren't going to The Hills Have Eyes it.
No,
No.
when they suspiciously got a dead dog from somewhere, and no one's willing to say where.
No dogs died for 2 weeks over the course of this film.
Do you reckon there's a
And-
death dog? There's like a dog.
Yeah,
There's,
it's
like,
like
one
in like
different
in
one for each
Discworld
animal.
where there's a death for rats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one for each
No.
animal.
I think this bit. So after she gets thrown from the
Like
car and
smaller
he's
shadow.
zapped, but they all survive.
Maybe
This
the
is
death
the
for death for cats is the reason they've got 9 lives is that it's really lazy.
Yeah,
It's like, I'll get
to
you
get out
next
of
time.
bed.
Just don't. And by the time you get to 9, it's like fine.
The death for cats
okay.
kills you by slowly pushing things off of a bench.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the bit that, for some reason, surprised me the most, which is suddenly it's a while later, and the 3 survivors, which is Stan, Claire, and Douchebag, are
Yeah,
just...
the jock. They
they're
go
like,
to Paris.
We've just gone to Paris
Yeah.
on holiday.
Why the
I'm
fuck
surprised
would
we
you
got
do
on a
that?
plane.
I
Ooh.
thought that is genuine. Like, I think of all the horror films that exist and how stupid everyone is. I think that is the most mental decision that anyone's ever made in a horror film. To be like, remember that flight where all our friends died? Why don't we go on it? Why don't we just take it anyway? Why don't we just go and
Let's-
enjoy ourselves
you
in
know.
Paris?
We've spent 2 weeks avoiding death. Let's just go to Paris.
Yeah.
And
How
then
long would it take you?
It's a while, right?
It's
You
3
know.
months,
Yeah.
but that's
3
not
months.
long enough.
That's no. You'd still be traumatized. Like, I don't think I'd even make it to the airport.
How
I
long would
legitimately
it take
reckon
you?
if I was on a plane and it got off and it blew up, I'd never go on a plane again.
they
Yeah.
would not let that guy back on a plane.
No, they wouldn't.
Well, not now.
No way.
Not in a post 9/11 world, certainly not.
No.
How long do you reckon it would take you to not be convinced death is trying to get you?
Oh,
Like,
I'd never. I'd go back to the
when you-
cabin as soon as Claire was safe.
Like, at
After
what
I
point-
got hit by a car, it took me a long time and a lot of therapy to just be able to like cross a road without having like anxiety.
Yeah.
Like, if a plane nearly killed me, like there are planes everywhere all the time.
I meant like death. Like, how do you stop from being like a rolling pin is rolling across the side and you diving to the ground screaming that death is trying to get you?
Well,
Like, at
that's
what
why
point-
Thingy Bob Clear. How can I forget her name? That's how perfectly Clear ends up in that mental. She ends up in a psychiatric unit, doesn't she?
Yeah, in the second
in
one,
film
yeah.
2, because she's like, I need to be literally in a padded cell, not because I'm insane, but I mean, it
Death
probably
is trying
wouldn't
to
take much
get me.
Do you know
convincing.
Do you know how she dies in the second one?
No, I've forgotten.
Room just explodes. So Death clearly was just like, all right, you fucking had your time.
Fed up.
I'm sick of this. You're dead. Like, no more. You're dead now.
Death is fed up. Death is
Yeah.
too busy in Final Destination 2, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas in this one, it's gotten to maybe Death kind of backed off a bit so that he could then do the surprise round in Paris.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Because
he was on
doesn't the
holiday
second
in
one
Paris
have
with
like
them.
they have a baby, and that resets the timeline. Is that right?
I
What?
think they think that's what's happened. It turns out that was incorrect. That's
Oh, is it?
so it's one of those things where like, oh, if this person, if life is brought into the chain, so one of the people who's meant to die is a pregnant woman. It's like if life's brought into the chain, it'll disrupt death and everything will reset. That turns out that woman never was meant to die anyway, so it meant nothing.
Oh, okay.
So that's why everyone dies. That's why Claire gets blown up.
It's one of those ones where I feel like I probably watched most of most of the second one, and then there was like, I don't know, the last 15 minutes, but there was an ad break, and I was like,
Yeah.
Genuinely, the second
Yeah.
one again has very good comedic timing where like they all burst into the room as the woman gives birth and they're like, we've done it, and right as they burst in, a load of other people are saved like simultaneously, and then someone's like, oh, she was never on the road, and then just everyone just dies like a domino effect. It's like, boom, 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 boom. Like everyone just explodes, gets decapitated.
it's like
mad
in
shit.
you know, when in Looney Tunes where like Wile E. Coyote doesn't realize he's run off the cliff.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
honestly what it's like. Like it's mad.
Yeah, because the ending of this is they
get
think
attacked
it will
by a
like
sign?
circle back.
That
Yeah, so a bus almost hits them, and then a bus almost hits the douchebag guy who's called Alex, this is the only time I've written his name down. And then a sign's like falling down and almost hits Stan, and so Alex or Carter or whatever Alex is the main kid. Anyway, he gets pushed out of the way, and then the other guy stands up and he's like, well, now what? And then the sign just swings back and then the credits roll, and I was like, that is so disappointing.
No, I legitimately thought that was the funniest joke in cinema
Oh, yeah.
history.
Yeah.
When he's like, who dies next? And then Alex like, and then you just see the sign come back
Just-
in the frame. I was like, that is so
So
funny.
does Alex not die? Does the main character die?
Yeah, the two main characters don't die because
Yeah.
it's
Oh, they don't?
it's the douchebag guy that's standing there that almost gets
Yeah,
hit by
and
the sign. Then
So in the second one, when they go to find Claire in the mental hospital, they're like, what happened to Alex? And she's like, a brick fell off a building and killed him.
He didn't want to be in the second film.
Yeah, he was too busy making all the sequels to the music video for Stan. But genuinely, there's a newspaper cutting. In the newspaper, there's a picture of his corpse with a pool of blood. And I was like,
my
they wouldn't
God.
put that in the newspaper. And it's just like,
They wouldn't.
and literally all it says is, man killed by falling brick. Like, that's it. And I think,
Oh,
I was like,
God.
they wouldn't put that in the paper. And also, man killed by falling brick would not be the headline if it's that cunt who predicted a plane was going to explode.
Yeah, last of plane survivors, or second
Yeah.
to like one of the
Psychic
the
plane
dot-
survivor killed by in funny way would be the headline.
filled by. Yeah, I guess it depends on the newspaper.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that it didn't somehow come around to like a bit of scrap from the plane that exploded killed him.
Yeah, that would have been
Because
good.
that seems like the kind of bullshit this film would do.
This film thinks it's smart because it has the number 180 in it all the time, but like, it's not smart. It's just,
Yeah.
That's just
it's
darts.
very forced. Yeah.
Like, why is 180 significant? I'm dumb.
It's the flight number.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah, I
flight
know
number.
it's the flight number, but why is that a? Is it also throughout the whole rest of the film? Then
Yeah,
it's
Yeah,
not
it
some
appears
sort
a
of.
few times. I swear it's on a clock
Oh,
at one
okay.
point.
Yeah, that clock
So-
scene, according to the IMDb, took 4 hours to film.
They had to wait for it to get to the right time.
Yeah, they just were like, did no one think just to move the fucking clock? It was just like, I'll just leave the camera here and we'll go do other shit.
Yeah, for some reason I thought you meant that kind of like how the devil's number is 666. There was some sort of like death number is 180 for some reason.
I think genuinely think Stan's seat on the plane is 666.
Probably.
Yeah, it's something. It definitely comes up at some point.
Did anyone else think that this movie somehow went really quick and really dragged at the same time?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh yeah, there's like no time at all passed.
The
But-
thing that I think bothered
ugh.
me was that I normally of course legally purchase every film I
Of
see.
course. Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. This one, I don't know. I don't know what came over me, but I just dipped my toe in, and I found it incredibly quickly online. Which is normally not a good sign for the quality of a film if they really don't care anymore. But they were really bad, and it it wasn't loading properly. It wasn't working. I had to buy this film,
Oh,
like I
no,
do
no,
every
no.
film we watch. But this one, it kind of hurt a little. Well, I didn't buy. I rented it or whatever. But it's £3.49. I'm not getting back.
That's too much
Yeah.
to pay for this.
I wish
one.
it was £1.80. That would have been funny.
that would have been good. That'd have been a good bit.
Yeah, that would have.
I would have
been a
felt
bit
less
more
bad
interesting.
about giving that money to that company. No free advertising on Hey, I love that movie. But yeah, no, £3.49.
So out of 10,
Out of
how
10,
much do you
yeah.
think it was actually worth? Because I feel like we're going to lose all energy for this soon
Yeah,
and somehow
10.
actually die one by one.
But in all in increasingly
Mikey?
weird
Mikey, are you there?
circumstances.
Just
Mikey, the
Mikey's
fan
like
behind you.
microphone stand just swings back and hits him in the face.
Turns out I've been filming on a set this whole time, or recording a set, and my wall just falls forward and crushes me.
Now I'm just going
There's
to
so
open my
many-
drawer and knives are going to fly out.
Yeah.
I'm going to fall over and get strangled by my headphone cables.
My room's just going to explode with no fanfare whatsoever because death is sick of me having avoided through coincidental means through the last years.
Do you
And
reckon?
I guess Helena just gets hit by a bus out of nowhere.
Which is incredible because I'm on a second story flat.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. Double-decker bus. A double-decker bus with someone standing on the top of it with a sword.
A horse on it.
Yeah, the horse.
Oh, horse holding a sword.
Someone on a horse on top of a double-decker bus with a
That-
sword.
I bet if you put a horse on top of a double-decker bus, it would be terrified.
I don't
bet
think the horse would be happy.
You'd have the worst time.
I just want to put it out there that Max saying double-decker bus right then gave me more joy than this entire film did.
Maybe I'll enter that into the Cannes Film Festival next year. Just 90 minutes of me saying double-decker bus.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to give this film 3 spilt liquids out of 10. And 3 is like a push.
Yeah. No,
it was fine, but it was I'm kind of more interested in maybe watching the other ones because I remember what happens in them and I remember it being funny, whereas this one's just kind of it's like it's trying to be edgy and dark and just
It's
doesn't
the
really-
first pancake of the series.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an excellent analogy. There are so few series where the first film is by far the worst, and I think this is it.
Yeah. Normally it's like, oh, are you sure you want to do a sequel?
Hmm.
Mm. But I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad it did a Chucky, and the other ones are funny. I've got to give this. I'm going to give it 2 deadly washing lines out of 10. Like, I didn't really enjoy it, and I found it quite upsetting at parts that were a bit too sad. I think because I think when I first watched this, I was a teenager, and I was like, the idea of loads of people dying in a plane crash was like, oh, that would never happen. So it didn't even occur to me to be sad about it.
Hmm.
because none of my friends have died and that kind of thing. It's like, how teenagers
9/11
think.
hasn't happened yet. It's fine.
Yeah, well, it didn't happen to me. Okay?
No.
You can cut that bit out. But as an adult, I'm now like, when all those people die, and I'm seeing all those parents of like who'd lost, and all I could think about was like how crushingly sad that would be.
Yeah.
This is not a developed enough film to deal with that issue, I think.
because
Yeah,
Like, this,
no.
like,
If
to put that scene in and then have the rest of the film just be like, haha, funny death. It's
Yeah.
like
So
not,
I was
not very appropriate.
preoccupied with sadness, and then the funny deaths were really quite jarring.
Yeah.
But not. I mean, some of them were funny in the moment, but yeah, it's just not good, and it's got absolutely no staying power at
Not at
all.
all. I don't think it was ever meant
Sure, we
to.
watched this 2 weeks ago. I forgot to. I didn't. I actually know. I made the conscious choice not to rewatch it.
Yeah.
I'm being
Same.
honest. I still want to.
Damn.
And I think even if this was on TV, I wouldn't watch it. I'm certainly never going to pay for it again.
Couldn't
Do
bear
you know
it
what?
with adverts.
I genuinely had a very good time watching this, but I watched it with friends. And obviously the plot is not like the forefront of watching it with friends where you're talking and stuff. Do you know what I mean? I think it is good for that, where you're just like, this is ridiculous, and it's fun to like point out the ridiculous stuff together. Because this recording has been infinitely more enjoyable than watching it when I watched it on my own a year ago and was like, God, this is shit.
I had one bit I did enjoy was and I can't remember if this has come up in other podcasts, but my husband was watching Blackish, and the really dramatic on the TV while I was watching this on my laptop on my lap with my headphones in, and the music made Blackish look so dramatic and like tense, and it was like there was and it kind of at times it synced up, and that was way more entertaining.
Again, because I did watch it with friends, I feel like it's unfair of me to give it a very bad rating, because I did genuinely have fun, but I also know it's not a good film, so I'll probably give it 4 M&M singles out of 10.
Stan.
Which
Feet
one?
Dido.
Faint Dido, yes. 4.5, and the half is Dido.
How dare you? Dido is more than a half.
I mean, it's impressive that she's boosted the score when she's not in this film.
Yeah,
so.
no, that's true. I think 3, same as Dan. Just because some of the deaths are funny, but that's about it.
3 funny deaths.
Yeah, that's it.
I want to edit the bust kill. I want to edit swap it with Mean Girls.
Yeah.
That'd be funny.
Yeah, that is good.
Just want to see what happens.
Yeah, my points are probably 3 for the funny deaths and 1 for Agent Shrek, and then half a point for Dido.
I do giggle
So,
every time
good
I think about him
breakdown.
being Agent Shrek.
Yeah.
It's just very funny that at that point no one would have ever considered it. I think they're like, Shrek's a pretty funny name, I guess we'll just put that in. And
Shrek's
watching
okay
it back now is mad.
Well, I guess with
Everyone's so bored.
It's such a
It's such a
film.
What a
difficult
fucking
movie.
shit film to talk about. It's not bad enough to be interested, it's just bad. Don't watch
Yeah.
it.
This was your suggestion, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought it would
Credit
be
where
funny.
it's due. Like, it was
Yeah.
your fault. Okay,
I thought it would
yeah.
be funny, but again, I watched it with people. But then having to think back on it, I was like, God, there's nothing to talk
You were
about.
just enjoying your friend's company, not the
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could pretty much watch anything and enjoy it if I was with the right people. Well, that's not true. I couldn't watch Hereditary and enjoy it. I'd be in bits.
Yeah, I've not seen
Yeah.
that. Anyway,
I have.
I have. I don't think it's that bad.
I'm not
Yeah, it's
watching it.
awful.
That's not happening.
yeah. I was surprised that I watched Midsummer, to be fair.
Oh,
That was,
no.
Oh,
No,
Midsummer's
no.
not scary.
No.
I
it's
shan't be
weird.
watching it.
Midsummer's just weird.
Yeah. Anyway, before we go off on a tangent about a bunch of other movies, I've been Dan.
I've been Michael.
That's all we've done all hour.
Yeah, I know.
I've been Helena.
Have you guys seen Scott Pilgrim? No, I'm joking. I'm Mac.
Yeah.
Yes, I have. You can find Mac. Where can people find you?
I'm usually on Twitch at the Macaroni Prince, and me and a friend of mine, Apom, are starting a thing called He's Alive, where Apom essentially runs an RPG game where I try to survive all the horror films I haven't watched by being smarter than the people in them. And also, this is the first announcement of it. Pay attention to the Pointless Reinvention feed, and that's all I'll say.
Alright.
That is fair enough.
A hint.
Nice bit of sizzle for a new podcast coming up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can find this podcast on Twitter and Instagram at HiltonPod. That's at HILTM Pod. We're on Discord as well, so you can come in there and tell us about how shit Final Destination is, I guess. And we're on Patreon as well, which you can give money to support this show.
Sometimes we have to buy the films, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
It adds up.
Yeah,
I mean, we always buy the films. It's very expensive.
I don't really want to do the Patreon bit for this because the only idea
We're
that
gonna
I
kill
have...
some kids.
No, the only idea that I have, I will not be allowed to fly a plane ever if I say it. So I'm not doing a Patreon bit. If I can donate to the Patreon, we're skipping this one for personal security reasons.
I feel like there was someone who was like on the point of pressing like pay on Patreon, listening to this, like, oh.
If you sign up to the Patreon, I promise to train a horse to drive a bus.
Yeah, that's it. We'll use the Patreon money to train killer horses.
Yeah, horse assassins. No one will ever suspect them.
My granda has a horse, and I don't particularly like my granda, so I'm happy to train that horse to be evil.
It's because they can't hold knives. People think that they're harmless.
Yeah, we'll teach them to put it in between their hooves.
I'll sharpen the hooves up. Sharpen them up real nice.
Braid the tail hair together, knife at the end.
Yeah, good.
Got a whip.
Yeah.
Oh, they just spike themselves in the bum all the time.
Not if you train them to use it properly.
Yeah, but then
I think we just do another hour of this. Let's just keep going. I like this. Would you turn a horse into a killing machine?
Minigun.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I've gone for the Digimon option.
The problem is you need a person to operate the minigun. Horses don't have
teach
hands.
the horse.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you make like a mouth system for them. So
yeah.
Maybe just make it like speed, where when the horse goes over a certain speed, the gun starts shooting.
Like it's connected to like the rotation is connected to the horse's.
Once the horse goes over 20 miles an hour, then goes under 20 miles an hour again, the gun will not turn off.
Maybe that's why the bus hit the person in this movie. It's because it was the bus from Speed.
Holy fuck! Imagine that was the crossover. Imagine if you rewatch Speed. Once you rewatch Speed, and then just one frame, you could see Stan and Clear Rivers. I'd lose my fucking mind.
I can't wait to read the Screen Rant article on how there's a link between fucking Speed and Final Destination. Well, the good thing with Final Destination is that we were meant to record it, 2 weeks ago, but then we couldn't. But in Final Destination style, 2 weeks later, something's happening.
Yep. It would genuinely be a very funny bit if throughout the podcast we just dropped off. Like, each people would stop. So it was like just Mike at the end. That's it. Nobody else is here.
Just me.